Hello, my name is Ron Gagliardi, and I'm your host for today, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of 30 Minutes with Ron. We have a guest today, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
My name is Gromko, and I'm 47 years old, reside here in Cheshire with my wife, Jill, 14-year-old daughters who are freshmen, twin daughters, freshmen at high school this year.
Want to share their names?
Sure, Taylor and Reagan. We've been here since '05, and we're loving it.
Where did you come here from? Well, tell us a little about your youth.
Sure. So I was born in Beverly, Massachusetts, grew up in Easton, Massachusetts, and then went off to the University of New Haven, where I majored in arson investigation, minor in criminal justice.
Wow.
After college, moved on to upstate New York, worked in auto claims for State Farm, then got a sales position with ADP, moved to New Hampshire, and then I had an opportunity to open my own agency for State Farm and relocated from New Hampshire to Cheshire in 2005.
Now, did you pick Cheshire yourself, or that's where the opportunity was?
So the state was pretty wide open where I wanted to have my business, but we wanted to make sure it would be a reasonable commute to where we wanted to live. I chose Meriden to open the office and chose Cheshire to reside. So from '05 to 2012, my office was in Meriden. Started as a scratch agent, which means I started with 0 clients and grew it from nothing. And then, like I said, in 2012, made the great decision to move the office to Cheshire, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Why?
Because I really wanted to be in a community. I wanted my business to be in a community that I lived in and that I had a little bit more passion for. So being able to have that business in the town, have a 1-mile commute to work, be involved in the community where I'm doing business is great.
Now, you picked Cheshire for the business opportunity. Was there anything else that attracted you to Cheshire?
So why do you think a young family would move to Cheshire?
I know why we moved to Cheshire back in '72, because of the school system.
Yes, and
Yes.
people are still moving here today for the school system.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was primarily the schools that brought us to Cheshire.
And how did you decide that the career in legal things was not for you?
Oh, legal things.
Legal things, like you said, you were in criminal justice.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into law enforcement when I got into college. Wanted to get into the ATF or the FBI. That was my desire. And then after I graduated, I took an approach to go. I jumped on with State Farm and got involved in their fraud unit. So I did some insurance fraud work for them, and then just continued the insurance route from there. Never pursued the arson degree.
Wow, arson. That's a scary thing.
Yes.
I've heard some
It's
stories.
very interesting.
I've heard some stories about arson, but I'm not going to go into those. Okay, so you're in town.
Yes.
You have a business. You built it from scratch. Did you start finding places to do volunteer things?
So I got really involved right away when I moved to the business to Cheshire. I got onto the Chamber of Commerce board, then became chairman, which I still am. I got involved in the Economic Development Commission with Jerry Sitko. I'm also on the School to Business Partnership Council, the Kelly Lenz runs. And then also recently got onto the Cheshire Education Foundation board, which gives back grants and scholarships.
It's a pretty
Cheshire
good resume.
students. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Jerry Sitko.
Yes.
We probably should tell our viewing audience who Jerry Sitko is.
Yes, so Jerry Sitko is our economic development director that works for the town.
And there was a report made by, is it Dave Pelletier? He's the chair?
Yes.
He made a report to the town council the other night about what's going on in your group.
Right.
You want to share anything that's going on?
So I was part of a subcommittee that that oversaw a market study about 7-8 months ago, and they just a holistic look at economic development in the town. There were a lot of great takeaways from that study. There's a few that I feel passionate about that I think we need to pursue. And I believe what was discussed last night was about the water lines extending up to the north end.
Yes.
And trying to be proactive.
Yeah,
And
that's a big deal.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
there isn't really one silver bullet when it comes to economic development, but I think if we could execute 2 or 3 things aggressively with quality in mind, quality businesses, growth.
That's a good thing to
Yes.
do. Yes. Now, you've been involved with these groups and these wonderful things with donations and stuff. Does that bring to mind any issues that you feel need to be addressed?
Yeah, so really 2 issues that are close to me, and that's the economic development in the schools. So let's talk more about economic development for a second. Being a business owner, being involved so much in the chamber, I'm around business owners constantly. So I do have a connection to the existing businesses here in Cheshire and what their needs are. But believe it or not many people know this, but 85% of the tax revenue that comes into Cheshire is from personal residential taxes. 15% is from businesses. So what does that tell you? We're a little heavy on the residential tax side.
Yeah.
We're relying on our homes for taxes a little too much. Now, granted, that percentage really hasn't changed much over the last 10 years, surprisingly. And economic development has been an issue that candidates have been talking about for at least 2 to 3 years now. But it's time that we make some changes. And I think as the result of this market study, we have to move forward. I'll talk about a couple of them. I talked about quality growth. We don't want to become a Queen Street on Route 10. That's not the intent. The intent is to grow the grand list smart with quality businesses. So one of the ideas is to come up with a master vision plan for the North End. You know that we had those outlets that were going to happen and didn't. We've had other people look at the properties, but no real good opportunities. Since it is such a prime real estate in relation to the state for distribution, whether it's in a warehouse, we need to be a little bit more proactive with what we want to do up in the North End, and make it more shovel ready, so that a business can come and say, hey, you know what, you've done some prep work.
So when you say shovel ready, and you're talking about getting water out there, what else do you fit in to make something shovel ready?
Well, the sewers have come up, but we want to wait until we know what the need is. So right now it's just the water.
Just the water.
Yeah. Yeah, and that will be on the referendum on November 7th.
Ah, yes, that's another thing that's coming up. Now, I understand, because I was involved a little bit, that you're running for council at large, right? No, second district now, excuse me.
Right.
And you had run a previous time.
Yes.
And what happened there?
Last time?
Yeah.
Oh, last time, well, it was my first time out running for a political office, and I came up 124 votes shy of winning. So it motivated me more over the last 2 years. I've done a few things different on this campaign. I've learned some things. And I'm getting some really great response. I've knocked on almost 300 doors right now. My goal is 800 by the election.
Now, I've never done too much knocking on doors. So what do you do when you come to a door? How do you present yourself? What happens? What do the people want to know about?
So, you know, first you have a card or something to hand off that talks a little bit about my experience and my background and my platform. But I don't try to hard sell. It's just a friendly knock and just introducing myself. I'm running for the position. And if that person wants to have a discussion or talk about issues, I'll stay. Matter of fact, a couple days ago, a couple I didn't know brought me right into their house. They sat me on their sofa.
Wow.
Gave me something to drink, and they wanted to chat. And we did.
You must be something else.
So, you know, not all people are that receptive, but you have to have kind of a thick skin in some situations. But overall, people are cordial and friendly, and I just leave it, you know, just introducing myself, thank you.
Now, there's not a lot of people out in our viewing audience who know what it's like to run for a position on council. Can you share some of your experiences? Like, how do you set up your campaign? Do you have a committee? Do you do planning on your own? How does it work?
So, you know, it really comes down to yourself. That's what I've learned. You know, you get some input from others, you get some tips for people that have done this before. And I'm really running it myself. Everything, I'm running my own social media. I'm doing my own postcards, designing them, mailing them out, having them printed. setting up meet and greet events, actually on the 22nd of October from 5 to 7. I'll have a meet and greet at Matt Bowman's house, and then I'm in the process of setting up another one. So yeah, it's very busy time, and just doing as much as you can, as quick as you can,
What
and
about
touching as many people.
Oh yeah. What about political signs? How do you feel about political signs?
So political signs, yeah, I mean, it's part of it goes with the territory, right? Everybody's got a sign, and you put them in people's lawns. I don't know if they have that much of an impact on a candidate, to be honest with you. I think door knocking has more of an effect than a sign. But yeah, we spread them out and we get them on as many lawns as we can.
Now, what will happen when Halloween comes around rather?
What will happen?
Yes, what do you do with your signs?
Couple years ago, there was no effect. We didn't lose many signs on Halloween.
Oh, so you left them out.
Oh yeah.
Ah, because there are some folks that go around, take
Oh,
all
really?
the signs. Oh yeah, they bring them in.
Oh no, I didn't have any issues.
Wow. And so, when you go to a door, what is your favorite thing to talk about? How do you present yourself? I'm Derek Gromko, but what do you get into in the few seconds or minutes that you're going to have?
So I keep it very brief, unless that person wants to engage. Just introduce myself. I shake their hand, and I tell them that I'd like their support on November 7th. There's my contact information on the card if you want to reach out to me and you have questions, because you're catching people off guard.
Right.
People aren't, prepared with questions. They're in the middle of dinner. So I leave them with my contact info and say, I don't expect you to have questions today, but before you cast that vote, I ask that you look at my platform and you take a good look at both candidates before you just vote for a party.
And so, in the world of both candidates, you put yourself in one spot and you talk about your candidate in another spot.
I do.
How do you portray your candidate?
Well, I mean,
your opponent, rather.
Yeah. So my opponent, I feel, and I'm not the only one. I've gotten this feedback from folks out in the district, is that he's an obstruction to progress in this town. And what I mean by that is that when you constantly vote no on any proposal, it used to be just anything concerning money, but now it's not even that. It's really a no for 98% of everything that comes across the council's votes. No isn't an answer, and no is not an idea. And I think it's short-sighted when you disregard the real cost of saying no and thinking about, okay, if we don't do this, what will be the effect?
Right.
If we don't do this, when do we want to consider it again?
So now, I want you to make believe you're at a door.
Okay.
Look in the camera and address the people who just came to the door.
Just came to the door.
Just came to the door.
Well, Cheshire is in the middle of a very challenging time, and I think it needs experienced community leaders that have the aptitude to make long-term decisions. And I feel with my business experience, my connections in the community, I think I'll be an excellent fit to the council.